PunchPod in stereo. Every week, PunchPod brings you live stand-up comedy from Seattle. And now, episode 45.
There's this one time these kids came up to me and they're like, "Yo, Mr. Wilfred, did you know that all Asians talk like this?" And of course they did this accent that was really hurtful and offensive. But I let them know, I was like, kids, that hurts my feelings. Because when I go home and I'm not around you guys, that's how I talk. I didn't know it was so funny. It's hilarious. I'm serious, because sometimes I'll go home and I'll close the door behind me and I'll just be like, "Oh, thank God no one's around." A ching chang chong ching. Because for some reason that's what's in my heart. I don't know why. Here's something that happened to me last Saturday. It was after a show, and this lady came up to me and she was like, "Hey, you're really cute." And then immediately followed it with some really racist shit. And it was fine because I learned something about myself that night. And it's that, yes, I would totally have sex with a racist girl. Totally. Why would I not?
It's weird that, birds regurgitate to feed their young, but have you ever thought, it would be so much weirder if birds had nipples?
What did the Seattleites say when the meth head attacked the old lady on the sidewalk in front of the coffee shop? What? I don't know, I don't want to get involved. Do you guys have Wi-Fi here? We're like that, aren't we? On Capitol Hill, we don't want to know. Whenever people come to visit me in Seattle from out of town, their first observation is always, "People in Seattle are so smug and passive-aggressive." And I'm like, okay. Well, I didn't say it to their face, but when they walk off, I'm totally like, okay. Actually, I just blog about it later. That's really more.
I left the grocery store, and there was a guy standing out there with a clipboard, and I could tell he was trying to talk to people, sell something or do something. So I told myself right then, I was like, I'm not gonna let him rope me into whatever this is. Not today. So I start walking by, and he goes, "Hey, do you want to?" And I just tune out and I say, "Nope, no thank you, nope." And then 3 seconds later, I realized he had asked me, "Do you want the bullying in schools to stop?" And I said no. I said no with confidence. Like I'm funding bullies or something. Like I should be like, "Hey, fuck you, man. Don't even talk to me. I'll pull your pants down right here. Get away from me."
I saw a guy driving a PT Cruiser the other day, and if that wasn't bad enough, he had a bumper sticker on the back that said, "4 doors fit more whores." He was alone. I bet that guy's always alone.
I've lived in Seattle for about 12 years. I really like it here. It's one of my favorite places on the whole planet. I am from someplace different, so every once in a while it does make me long for more East Coast style of interacting with people, because it's kind of passive aggressive here, right? You guys know the East Coast, right? East Coast where people fucking despise you and say it to your face. No, seriously, if you live on the East Coast, or especially in New York, and you're in a grocery line that's say 20 people deep, you can just turn to the person next to you and go, "What the fuck? Can you believe this old bitch is holding up the whole line with a fucking checkbook?" The guy behind you won't be offended. He'll be like, "Yeah, it's fucking unbelievable." I'll just continue on down the line of people. If you did that shit here in Seattle, if you turn to the person next to you in Seattle and were like, "What the fuck? Can you believe this old bitch is holding up the whole line?" The person here in Seattle will be like, "Yes, it's horrible. Horrible. Hello, 911? Somebody's making a terror threat at the Safeway." I did have an experience though that kind of redeemed my faith in people here. I was at one of the Safeways up here on Capitol Hill, and I won't say which one because they both fucking suck. But I was in that line that has the big sign, 15 items or less, and there's like 3 women in front of me, one that's checking out, one that's loading like 40 items on the belt, and the woman behind her, who every time she loads something up goes, and then she loads another item. And then as she's doing that, her neck starts popping back and forth. So me and the gay guy behind me, we take a step back, because those French tips will scratch your fucking eyes right out. So finally, the woman who is loading 40 items on the belt in the 15 or less line has enough of, and turns to the woman behind her and goes, "Do you have a problem?" And the woman who's been going, points to the sign and goes, "I ain't the one with the problem, girl, because I could read and I could count." And then the checker, the queen who's checking everybody out, goes, "Hey, both you bitches shut your hole or get the hell out of my line." You know what I learned that day? Sometimes one effeminate queen outranks 2 African queens.
Anytime I get on stage, people always think like I'm high or something, or But honestly, I hate people who take drugs, right? Like cops. I used to come home high all the time in high school, right? And it was a weird situation because my parents would always give me 20 questions to figure out if I'm high, but they were big stoners too, right? Like, the most they could give me was like a lecture on sharing. and they did, right? But they'd always give me like 20 questions to figure out if I'm high. But guys, it doesn't take that many questions to figure out if I'm high, right? It only takes 2. Jake, are you high? No. Jake, are you lying? Yeah.
Punch Paw is recorded live at Punchline Fridays and Tuesdays in Seattle. Tonight's episode starred Wilfred Padua, Kayla Ruth, Brett Hamill, Kelsey Cook, Scott Lossy, Rick Taylor, and Jake Nally. This has been Punch Pod. Find more at www.punchlinefridays.com. And thanks for listening. I'm your announcer, Dick Cuntler.